Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the channel of
Only Plants and Fungi. I'm Christina.
And I'm Eric, and today we're responding to the video titled Why Nobody's Vegan Anymore by Levi Hildebrand.
Yes, and I do believe that this video was originally called Why Veganism Failed, which he changed for whatever reason. I guess he changed it from one clickbaity title to another because maybe this one's less offensive, or maybe he concluded that veganism didn't totally fail.
Yeah, realizing that it's not actually failing. Wow. Okay, so so we're gonna have a nice response, so let's get started on this.
Only a few short years ago, the vegan movement was at an all-time high. Every fast food chain across the country was launching their very own plant-based meats. Vegan influencers were garnering a huge number of views online, and there really seemed to be a shift in the broader cultural landscape towards a more plant-based diet. But today, we are seeing the pendulum swing in the opposite direction. The carnivore diet, which was really not a thing before, is the latest food phenomenon. Plant-based options are getting canceled, flagship meat
Phenomenon.
I wouldn't really say that people are swinging from one to the other. I would say they're both happening at the same time. So this is kind of like an exaggeration, saying that like everyone's dropping, even like attempting to become vegan at all.
Yeah, I agree with that. That was extremely dramatic, saying that it shifted to carnivore diet. I mean, that is a food trend, but it is simultaneously happened. People are still becoming vegan, eating more plant-based. And he does start off the video saying just a few short years ago, veganism was trending at an all-time high. And this point is absolutely true. In 2018, 2019, right before the pandemic, veganism and plant-based options were everywhere. I was living in South Carolina at the time, and even there, you could get plant-based meat replacements in grocery stores, at restaurants. There were full vegan restaurants that had opened in my city that I was living in, and I actually became vegan in January of 2019. Yeah, I mean, after seeing, a lot of stuff about like videos and stuff on social media, YouTube, and because of the influence of many of my friends who had started eating more plant-based.
Canceled, flagship meat companies are struggling, and the social landscape of veganism has fallen off of a cliff. Veganism as a fad or a trend was always likely to fall from its high, but with everything that's going on in the world, veganism has just lost its appeal for a lot of people, including myself.
Yeah, so like while veganism did have a time of being more popular, behind the scenes, it was still never really trying to be a trend. It was like the vegan movement that was fighting for the animals, and it just happened to be more noticed by people around that time. So it wasn't necessarily a trend.
Yeah, the thing is, the plant-based diet itself was a trend, as diets are, but veganism is so much more than just a diet. As we've said before in previous videos, veganism is a lifestyle and an ethical stance. So of course, diets are always going to be fads, but the philosophy of veganism is not a fad, and it's here to stay.
So if you look at the Google Trend forecast for the term vegan since 2004, it's down from its peak, and for some time now. Nearly a quarter of New York City's vegan restaurants closed permanently between 2022 and 2024 alone, and other vegan bulwarks like Portland and LA are not far behind. Gonna be honest, that was the first time I've ever used the term bulwark, and I don't like it. But right off the top, let's clarify some of the clickbait that we use.
So holding off right here is, the entire economy is doing bad itself. So with vegan restaurants, there might be technically less of a demand or an audience of people who are going into here, but it's not because of the restaurant itself. It's every business is struggling right now in America.
Yeah, I was literally just at lunch with a very dear non-vegan friend yesterday talking about this, and she was like, what? It's not just vegan restaurants that are closing. It's all restaurants, especially local restaurants.
Mom and pops.
Yeah, local favorites, they're closing. It's harder for those local spots that aren't backed by big corporations to stay open. And with vegan restaurants, it can be more challenging just because they do typically use more quality ingredients than those big chain restaurants that use big time food distributors. Vegan restaurants a lot of them are making everything in house, and they're paying for nuts that tend to be more expensive to make vegan cheeses and stuff like that. So of course we are going to see closures in vegan restaurants, as we've seen in many restaurants, sadly, but there are still an abundance of vegan restaurants in our area. We live in the Los Angeles area, but we've had more open as well, and we still have so many options that we have not gotten to nearly all of the vegan restaurants here.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not necessarily just a vegan restaurant. As we said, the economy's doing bad, rent's going higher for these places, and so they need to increase menu prices or do whatever they can with their employees in order to, compensate for that. And in return, it's putting it on the consumer, in which is causing less of the demand. People are not really going to those places as much as they used to. And so it's not just veganism, it's everyone.
Yeah, people just aren't eating out as much as they used to. We can't afford it in this economy, sadly.
Yeah.
Veganism and plant-based foods are not completely dead
it's
as a category, let's just say. But in this video, I want to talk about how the social movement that surrounded this lifestyle has changed so dramatically in the last couple of years. Now, as I hinted off the top, I have a personal take on this because I posted a few videos about plant-based eating in the peak years of the movement back on my old channel. Now, notice I said plant-based there instead of vegan. We're gonna come back to that a little bit later. Veganism was a part of a socially conscious movement that was happening on the internet generally for a while, right? We had zero waste, we had the minimalist movement, and then we had veganism right there, all happening around the same time. We have also made videos about those other two subjects as well if you are interested in seeing those things, and those videos might actually give you some additional context to what we're talking about right now. But weirdly, in the brainstorming for this video, we realized that all three of us on this channel have been some level of vegan or plant-based in the past.
Have we all dabbled with veganism? Is that what I'm hearing right now?
I didn't eat meat for probably 2 or 3 years.
And Matthew,
Yeah.
you were fully vegan.
I was vegan, I think like 3 or 4 years, and I'm still vegetarian.
I would say that Leah and I eat probably 60 to 80% vegan, depending on the week. It varies quite a lot. Like if we're on the road, we eat more meat. And when we live by ourselves, like we're living with her parents right now, so we eat a lot more meat because they eat meat. That's not good enough. That doesn't build a community. There's no community built around 80%ers. There's no like cohesion amongst people who just try their best.
That's the thing about veganism that nobody really talks about, because you don't really realize until you go vegan. It's like a socially isolating process. You're cut off from eating out with friends and family who are going to like a place that doesn't serve vegan food.
Now he mentions here, the reduction of trying to consume animal products and the 60 and 80%ers. Of course, that's definitely a good thing, but I feel like he's focusing on the word vegan and primarily just only thinking it's just a diet, when in fact, like we said, it's the philosophy and principle of choosing not to be paying for animal products because of the exploitation and cruelty that comes from it. So while it's good that you're not paying for that as often, it's still happening, whether it's the 40 or 20% if you continue to buy those items.
Yeah, he says he's trying his best, but we're wondering, is that really trying his best? Everybody's in their own situation, and we're not saying that it's easy for everyone to switch over.
And yeah, I really do believe that it is this social fear of not fitting in with your friends and family. So that's why it might not be your best, in which you're still continuing to paying for the things that you are against.
And I just want to touch on what he says about there not being a community for the 80%ers. I just disagree with that, because when I was living in Columbia, South Carolina, there was this community on Facebook called the Columbia Veg Community that I was a part of, that I actually became a member of before I even became vegan. it was accepting of anyone who was interested in the plant-based lifestyle. So we were super accepting. You know, we would do meetups and stuff like that. And even when I did become vegan, we still accepted non-vegans. Like, you don't have to be vegan to be a part of that community. And out here, we have plenty of vegan pop-ups that non-vegans are totally welcome to attend. And another thing is, yeah, people like to say that vegan is cliquey and exclusive, which I've heard before. The reason a lot of vegans stick together is because of what they talk about feeling socially isolated. We stick together because we do hold those same beliefs that we should not harm animals when we do not have to. So we are not trying to be cliquey or exclusive, and I do invite my non-vegan friends along to events with my vegan friends as well. So we're not trying to, when we get involved with activism, we are meeting people who care as much as we do. So of course, we're going to gravitate towards those people and we're going to form a community together. And another point that one of the editors said about it, I think you touched on it earlier, about it being socially isolating. Yeah, it can be. And, you know, you might not be able to go to a steakhouse, but you could ask your family and friends to go to a place that has a vegan option. Or if they really do want to go to that steakhouse, you could call ahead and ask if there is anything that they can make for you that's off menu, which is actually what happened to me a few months ago when I was visiting Dallas on business, and everyone wanted to go to a steakhouse for the business dinner. So I called ahead and they were able to accommodate me by making a lovely veggie pasta. And, you know, no one there cared. Everyone was just happy to have me there.
And while it's true that it may unfortunately feel isolating at times, it's still really important to recognize, especially if you are in the belief that we should not be exploiting animals, that you're still doing the right thing at the end of the day. And even if other people can't see it, you need to tell that to yourself.
So no, today we don't meet the technical definition of plant-based or vegan anymore, but we still probably eat less meat and dairy than the average North American does. But the reality is, we're not the only ones. What you eat, and more importantly, why you eat what you eat, has always been a politically and socially entangled thing, right? But perhaps none more so than the vegan movement. There has never been, to my knowledge, a diet that has been more divisive and controversial than veganism. And I also want to say, like, not all vegans are like the confrontational, judgmental stereotypes that people assume veganism is all about.
I mean, he says that to his knowledge, no other diet has been more controversial or divisive as the vegan diet. And what I say is it's because veganism is not just a diet. Like I've already said earlier, he keeps making it seem like it's just a diet, like it's keto or paleo, which people do argue over keto all the time. So, you know, that's a pretty divisive one, I would say. But like, no, of course, because we care about the animals. It's for the animals. It's not because we care that people put plants in their body. We care that people don't harm animals.
And it may seem controversial because, you know, growing up here in America, meat is everywhere. I've grown up eating meat. Like I wasn't, you know, born vegan or anything. And so it may seem like it's taking away something from us, when in reality, we're actually taking away something from the animal, whether it's their body parts itself or whatever they produce for their own. We're choosing to take and benefit from that. So it's kind of like the shift in mind that we need to have. It seems so controversial because we've been so used to it for all these years, but it's not trying to take away from people's choice. It's trying to do the right thing and switch to the plant-based options.
Yes, exactly. And another thing that he said that stood out to me is not all vegans are confrontational, judgmental stereotypes. And I'm glad that he said that, because most of us are not the confrontational, judgmental stereotypes. Those are the ones that go viral because, you know, they make a scene, they get in these big arguments. People love to call out the crazy vegans, but most of us are just normal people who really want to make the world a better place for animals and humans alike. And I can speak for the two of us. Neither of us are judging people for not being vegans. Many of our friends are not vegans. Family members are not vegans, and we still love them all the same. Of course, we do wish they were vegan for the animals, but we understand that most people in society go with the grain, and since we have animal products are such a big part of normal society, most people aren't vegan. But we still want to do the best that we can to encourage loved ones and strangers to make the better choice.
Yeah, and it's pretty interesting how like divisive and controversial this is to people when really we just don't want to be harming animals. I don't understand, like, that doesn't make any sense at all. It's like people should be agreeing with that.
And they do agree with that when it's not farmed animals, for the most part.
Exactly, yeah.
For a lot of people, veganism started around one movie. I watched Cowspiracy in 2015, and it genuinely was the thing that pushed me to rethink my eating. I started eating plant-based basically the day after I watched that movie, because it was literally the first time I'd ever seen the industrial food system exposed in that way. And I know for a lot of other people, that movie and a few others that came out around the same time were a real turning point. And for most people who watched that movie, going vegan was too hard to commit to, or they tried for a little bit and eventually gave up. But for many people, the very real horrors of our industrialized food system were exposed, and it made eating vegan about more than just eating a certain way. People were coming out to their family members as vegan. People were losing friends over their dietary choices, and this label of vegan became a symbol of the kind of person that you were, and it needed to be defended. People had vegan tattoos on their body. They
the
had
kind of
vegan...
person that you were or are, it's, you don't want to be harming animals. I don't understand that at all.
As their Instagram bio names, and the choice you made at the dinner table was suddenly a lot more than just a personal preference. And as I said off the top, I really don't think that there has been a diet that created the kind of tension amongst people since. And it was a really weird time.
He admits that veganism isn't just a diet for a second there, talking about he watched Cowspiracy, the industrial food system is exposed.
He saw what happened.
But then he goes back to calling it a diet again. I just don't get it. It's so much more than just a diet. So much more. But I sound like a broken record at this point.
Time to be a creator too. So yes, I dabbled in the space. I have some insight here, but I will be honest that a big part of the reason why I made those videos, and I only made a couple of them, was because the term vegan and plant-based had a lot of momentum behind it on YouTube at the time. I made a what I eat in a day video and a grocery haul video, and mostly I think I was doing it because I was trying to get videos any way that I could, and it was justified in some way because it aligned with the message that I was promoting at the time, which was around sustainability.
Okay, so here...
I was just going to say, at least he admits that he was just doing it for views.
He was trying to get 4 new videos, testing it out, see what would happen, right? See if it sticks on the wall, or just even wanting to experiment in his own lifestyle, which, it's great to tap into. But, he also mentioned that he watched Cowspiracy, and the next day he switched to a plant-based diet. And so I'm genuinely curious how highly he considered the ethics of the animals in the long run, outside of just trying to do it for views and making a video on this.
Yeah, it's kind of contradictory because he's saying he's just following the trend, but he alludes to the fact that he does care about the animals. So, maybe it is a little bit of both.
The reason why I never identified myself as a vegan content creator or leaned more heavily into that community online is because
he didn't want the dislikes and comments on the video. That's what he was avoiding.
Of the divisive nature of the vegan conversation around that time. Have you seen the debate of vegan videos? Of course you have. Or like ones about, vegans getting owned, by some conservative cowboy or like a meat industry rep or something. And I think even to this day, it feels like there's so much more energy put into the debating of the moral implications of eating meat than the ways that we can actually reduce our meat consumption as a culture. Funnily enough, we asked the people on our Discord about this idea. We told them that we're making a video about veganism, and then literally within minutes, there was a full-on argument happening within the thread, which I think just perfectly encapsulates how impossible it is to have a rational conversation about
I
this
mean, of course,
topic.
if you post something like, have you been vegan before and quit, you're asking for people to debate in the comments. Like, what do you expect from that? You know, like, it's like, is that really a shock? And it's actually really not impossible to have a rational conversation. We have rational conversations with people all the time when we do outreach, and we don't get angry. We don't let it get us. If you watch an Earthling Ed video, those are all, which he literally showed in this, those are always rational conversations.
And I really do think that it is this highly emotional, right and wrong, black and white kind of thinking that surrounded veganism that led to its failure. Entire industries are being
I'm sorry, I have
affected
to
by...
pause it again. He says it's highly emotional. I mean, there's so much logic behind veganism as well. If you watch those Earthling Ed debates that I brought up that he showed, those are so logical. I mean, we don't always get emotional. Of course, sometimes we do. It can be very emotional when we're watching animals being murdered.
And suffering.
Suffering. But there is so much logic to the philosophy of veganism as well.
Mm-hmm. We'll even link that video from Earthling Ed in the description below.
The switch away from a purist vegan culture. A great example of this would be how 11 Madison Park, a 3 Michelin star restaurant in New York City that has been plant-based since 2021, has just started serving meat again.
Yeah, and so as we mentioned, restaurants are struggling. They're still struggling. And so when it comes to this restaurant, they just added those items because they're doing it for the money. And they're trying to see if they're going to be able to last.
Exactly. And they were not plant-based before 2021. So it's like they hopped on the trend. And then when the trend passed, it's like they're going back to try to make more money. So it's pretty straightforward as to why they did that, regardless of what they've said about being more inclusive. Because a plant-based diet is the most inclusive diet. Anyone can eat plant-based. Whether you're kosher, vegetarian, an omnivore, whatever, you can do it.
As I said off the top, I am not saying that veganism or plant-based eating is dead completely. In fact, I would make the bet that what we are seeing is the progression towards a more sustainable version of that category, but we'll get into that later. Right now, I want to talk about why I think the trend fell off in the way that it did. And first, of course, is the controversial nature of the movement itself.
Vegan donut.
Even if you weren't one of those vegans, you were associated with the vegans who believed that it was them against the meat eaters.
Why is it always the
think about
extreme
this.
case when talking about would I kill an animal? Like,
exactly.
if you were in this situation.
There aren't lions running around downtown LA.
This, of course, just created an us versus them dynamic, which is not a great position for a food trend to make a lasting positive impression.
Food trend once again. Yeah, he says the us versus them mentality. I mean, of course, when people disagree on something, it could turn into an us versus them nature. They're on opposite sides. And of course, there's hostile people out there. Meat eaters and vegans alike. We can all be hostile at times, especially when you're passionate on one side or the other. But like we've said earlier, with our activism, we always try to be really respectful and just have productive conversations.
This all or nothing, in or out kind of tribe mentality was just not a good vibe. Even Impossible Foods, one of the biggest players in the alternative meat industry, has admitted that this kind of marketing was the wrong way to create a sustainable market. The CEO said it was against the cattle industry. It was against the slaughter cartel. If you ate meat, you were a Neanderthal. We were insulting meat eaters. Since realizing this, they've pivoted towards flexitarian, aka people who eat some plant-based and animal products from time to time. and they're even pushing now a hybrid burger that's 50% beef. Secondly, it was the way in which the capitalist machine took a hold of this movement. The explosion and the gold rush that we saw around every single meat company and startup on planet Earth rushing to produce their own vegan products just made it feel so forced to non-vegans, and it honestly produced some pretty questionable products. And we actually have a whole video on the rise and fall of these fake meat products if you want to go check that out next.
Some tofu. Okay. So he mentions Impossible and their switch to a flexitarian burger. Of course, you know, any kind of marketing that's pointing fingers at people is not really going to do good at all. Like, no one wants to be put down. And of course, that's going to cause a lot of conversation of like, hey, like this company is like kind of dissing people. And a company shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unless you're Oatly. Then you do it in a clever, fun way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not directly insulting people.
Yeah.
Considering the majority of people are not vegan.
Yeah. So let's talk about the marketing of animal products.
Yeah, he says it makes it feel forced. The marketing of vegan products make it feel forced. Okay, what about the marketing of animal products? It's literally everywhere. Like, so is that not forcing something? I mean, think about the beef. It's what's for dinner ads that are literally, that's like the beef industry coming together to try to get Americans to eat more beef and to market beef as more masculine. And of course, every time we turn on the TV these days, we see a commercial from Carl's Jr. or McDonald's or Wendy's. There's always deals of all these animal products. So it's just hard for me to wrap my brain around the fact that he's saying that a few vegan product commercials here and there are making it feel forced when
we're being consumed with like all the animal product commercials.
And it's like, of course, when they're putting out vegan products, when brands are putting out products, they're going to market them so they can sell them. So I just think that that's a very stupid point.
It just seems like it sticks out because you're not used to seeing it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, less on the marketing aspect of terms of, you know, showing it to the public, but the marketing of the food products in the grocery store. They have like humane labeling, organic, pasture raised, all these nice fancy words to make the consumer feel less harsh about their purchasing decisions of like what's happening to these animals. So no one really talks about that, right? It's just going right over everyone's head.
Mm-hmm.
And look, I'll admit, I ate a bunch of those Beyond Burgers, man, and every single time I shit my pants.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know if it's just me, but it's hard to convince somebody to eat a new fancy plant-based burger when their body just liquidates after eating it. And this explosion of
poop.
Come on, dude. Like, I don't know. Maybe his body's not used to that much fiber, or maybe there's something different going on there. Who knows? It doesn't personally do that to me or anyone that I know, so kind of weird. I don't know if he's being for real right there or not.
And, you know, it's great that we have the plant-based meat options in which, you know, let's say it does do this to some people. This isn't the only thing that you have to be.
You have a whole world of plants at your fingertips.
Popularity with mainstream brands and companies also sort of made it a widespread political ideology. People started identifying themselves as not vegans.
I like meat! I don't like vegetables!
And even anti-vegan. Veganism became synonymous with queer people, environmentalists, femininity, and in some ways, the radical left as a whole. And this is just a whole other level of the vegan trend that once again has never happened with another food trend in the past. And that is the protests and the activism,
he's protesting for the keto diet,
centering around. And honestly, there was already enough fuel on this fire, but this just took it to a whole other level. Whether it was comparing animal agriculture to the Holocaust, comparing animal agriculture to slavery, or just constantly making headlines with their public displays all around the world, PETA put a very radical spin on this already unconventional.
And while that may be true, you know, they do some crazy stuff that I've seen. Even saying it in a nice way, people still choose to ignore it. So if people are covering their ears the entire time, might as well try to do some like art form of activism to make a bigger deal out of it, to put more eyes and attention on the subject itself.
Yes.
Lifestyle. And the worst part is that PETA actually did some pretty smart stuff that never got any of those headlines. They had a strategy where they would buy shares in food companies in order to pressure their board into offering vegan options or to end animal testing. This was apparently a big factor in Ralph Lauren dropping fur in 2006, but that's not what we heard about. Instead, this activism likely pushed us even further in the opposite direction to where we find ourselves today.
He says that we didn't hear about the smart things that PETA does. So he's agreeing that PETA did do good things for the animals and for humans as well.
They won a lot of campaigns.
Yeah, but of course it is the more radical things that do make the headlines. That's just how things work. More radical, divisive things go viral. That's just how it works. And I mean, I don't know what other point he's trying to make by saying like the protests are what's dividing us. Like, I mean, come on, like we have the right to protest for what we believe in, and he's really not providing any sources saying that the protests have done more to drive people away.
Like I said, if you believe yourself that we should not be causing harm and exploiting animals, asking nicely to, the meat headquarters companies doesn't work at all. So this is what has to be done, just how so many other movements people had to march together and unite.
Exactly. It's the same thing. It's another social movement. It's just different from the ones in the past that involve humans because these animals don't have a voice. They can't get out and protest for themselves. We have to do it for them.
COVID, of course, was a huge shift for this movement. Suddenly, everybody is skeptical of everything that's going on in the world in a way that we hadn't seen before. Paleo as a diet was starting to gain some popularity, and with it was this renewed skepticism of processed foods, probably partially driven by all of the new plant-based foods that we were inventing around that time. Suddenly, people started seeing simplicity as the answer, but something got lost in translation here. The answer wasn't, hey, let's start cooking more and focus on ingredients that we can all recognize as food. Suddenly, healthy eating was about eating as few things as possible, and the only real focus seemed to be on meat. We talked about the carnivore diet in our protein video, and that video is in some ways sort of like a prequel to this one, because I really don't think that either of those trends would have happened if it wasn't for the vegan trend that preceded it. This is the bipolar world of trends today. It's just so hard to keep up with. It's easier for the internet to go from vegan to carnivore than it is to go from vegan to vegetarian. Like I would say in the last 10 years, I have ranged between 50 to like 95% plant-based. But I can't explain that in a video because we don't seem to understand nuance anymore. There's no community around the 80%ers or the 60%ers or the trying our fucking besters, The internet has...
And as we have said, reducing is good, but if you're still paying for something that you're against, why? Maybe some example could be someone who abuses a dog, right? You wouldn't want them to reduce how often they're abusing dogs. You would want them to stop because that is the right thing to do. So when someone recognizes that they don't want to be paying for animal exploitation, it should be pretty clear that, it's not like I'm gonna do it sometimes. It's let's not do this at all.
Kind of fucked up our ability to see the nuances and the in-betweens in life, which is unfortunately the majority of it. Like if all you're seeing is like vegan gets owned videos on one side and then my vegan grocery haul videos on the other side, you're missing the vast majority of the people on Earth in the middle who just don't give a shit and are probably just eating somewhere in between there. But there is no merch for those people. There's no call to action for those people. A guy eating like 20 pounds of meat in one sitting is obviously...
We can see nuance. We can see that people can try their best, I think. It doesn't always have to be all or nothing, but of course, when we are thinking about animal suffering as vegans, we just want it to end. So like, yeah, while we are happy that people might want to reduce, we also are like, well, why can't you just go a little further and completely give it up as to not give in to paying for animal suffering? He says the majority of people are probably just eating somewhere in the middle and not giving a shit.
Which is actually not true.
Yeah, I mean, in the United States, like, I believe the standard American eats meat 2 to 3 times a day. The majority of people aren't even eating a vegan meal a day, most likely. I mean, if people were eating somewhere in the middle, then you would think that they would have less of a problem of people being vegan and eating vegan food.
Yeah, and as you can see, this is actually how much fruit and veggies that people are consuming on the daily, in which is not a lot at all. It's actually the complete opposite. So people are not getting enough of this in their diet. And people probably don't even recognize that just because they're so used to the convenience factor of all these other animal products that they're able to eat.
Going to get more views online than just somebody showing you how to cook normally. Retention and microtrends are becoming baked into our real life decision making, and it's just making everything so much harder to interpret. That's why it's so easy for scammers and influencers to sell you garbage online, because it's harder than ever to know what the hell is real and what isn't. It's a reaction to the hyperstimulation of our online era.
Lizard.
And what is so weird about the carnivore diet in particular is that it has a lot of the same social challenges that veganism does. Showing up to a family dinner and only eating the meat is kind of weird. Preaching the health benefits of only eating meat is weird. Only eating Walmart steaks for every meal of the day is weird. And because you're isolating yourself with this food choice from everybody else around you, if you see another fellow carnivore slipping out of their diet, you've got to call them out, just like the vegans did.
I don't think any of that. I mean, I don't think that a carnivore is calling another carnivore out. Like, there's no ethical stance. I just disagree with him there. I think those points are silly. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I do agree with him about it being weird to only eat meat and all of that stuff, like, and to promote the health benefits of only eating meat when science says the opposite. But I mean, I don't think that it's the same thing as what vegans are doing, you know, the same. It's not the same issues as veganism, because when we promote the health benefits of a plant-based diet that is backed by science, you can be healthy. Yeah, you can be healthy and eat a vegan diet. And when we are choosing to not eat the animal products at our family Thanksgiving or whatever, we're doing it because of an ethical stance, not because we just want to be eating some carnivore fad. Like, yeah. I don't even understand, dude. I don't understand why. I don't understand either.
And probably the biggest aspect of this is exhaustion. It is truly a luxury to be able to eat plant-based. It takes time and effort and money to make these kinds of specific choices about what we eat in a day, and the world is on fire. Like, it's really not a chill time to be alive. And so for a lot of people, what you eat on a day-to-day basis was the easiest way for them to simplify and make their life a little bit more manageable. And veganism just doesn't fit into that.
He calls it a luxury to eat a plant-based diet, and I just completely disagree with that. I mean, especially in the United States and other developed countries, you can go to the supermarket and you can get plant-based whole foods for any budget, you know? Like, you can eat beans and rice and tofu, and you can still add some fruits and veggies in that, and you can pay less than you would on a heavy meat-based diet. There is research showing that a whole foods plant-based diet is actually one of the cheapest diets that you can eat.
Yeah, and so like here he's mentioning how, like, showing the carrot example, saying that it takes longer to prepare these type of plant-based foods. As someone who's like on the far opposite end of the spectrum of like not being the best cook, to someone who makes gourmet, delicious
Oh my
meals
God.
every other day.
No, you've gotten better. You've gotten a lot better.
Thank you, Rainbow Plant Life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Check her page out.
So when he shows like cutting the carrots and stuff, of course cutting and stuff does take time, but if you're going to be adding that to a meal that does have animal products, it's essentially the same thing. And now let's say you're lazy, right? Like you don't like cutting stuff. Let's give you a lazy tool. This right here, what I'm showing on the screen, you could buy one of these, you could slap a vegetable in there, and that thing's gonna cut real quick for you. So if you think it's gonna take a long time for you to make these kind of meals, there are equipment to help you increase the speed of that.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like, there are equipment like that, and also you can buy frozen fruits and vegetables if you're short on time as well. So that it really doesn't take any longer to make vegan
That's so
food.
true.
Like if you're making non-vegan food, you're still either going to have to chop the vegetables or you're going to buy frozen. And then when you're preparing meat, that can actually take longer. Whereas like you're having to worry about food safety and cooking it to the right temperature. Whereas with us, if we forget to press the tofu, not that big of a deal. We can just chop it and throw it in the gochujang noodles like Eric did a few weeks ago when he made it. And guess what? The tofu absorbed the flavors and it turned out amazing
delicious.
Anyway.
Ooh, I want some now.
I was fortunate to be able to try it after Eric, because I came over as he was finishing up.
Yeah, your
and
mouth
I
is
actually
watering.
reminded him to throw the tofu in so that he could get some protein in there.
Some extra protein.
Yeah, and that meal only took like 30 minutes?
Like 30
to make?
minutes
Yeah.
prep time. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of the meals I make are like 30-minute meals.
Yeah.
So.
I don't think that veganism's decline has anything to do with people's lack of empathy for animals or our lack of interest in preserving the people and the planet that we live on, but rather a contextual response to the stresses that we feel nowadays. And until we fix that system, nothing else is going to change. That was a bit of a bummer, guys. Thanks for sticking around to the end, even with the re-record. If you're subscribed, we will see you next week for yet another upload.
So he says that he does not think that people are not becoming vegan due to their lack of empathy for animals, in which, I would question, but I would say it's more of a educational and knowledgeable thing of just trying to understand how the food is made, because this is all happening behind closed doors and no one is seeing it.
I agree with him that we do not make it easy in this current society and economy for people to be vegan, because meat and animal products is everywhere, and we do need systematic change as well. I don't know if that's exactly what he's alluding to. I think he's just saying like it's really stressful right now for people, but I think that we do need to lobby the government and create systems that make it easier for people to be vegan, be plant-based for the animals, but also for the environment as well, because we really do need to reduce meat consumption to be able to create a sustainable future.
And in order to change the system, we need to be changing the demand with the things that we're buying, including these animal products.
Yeah, it's definitely, we need both. We need individuals to change and we need the system to change. So I do agree with him on some of these points. He ends by saying it's a bummer. So it seems like he does care and he does think that veganism is overall a good thing. While he doesn't like that it's divisive, it seems like he thinks that people should be eating more plants and less meat in general, and that he does want a future where it's easier for people to at least be more plant-based. So I do appreciate that he ends that way. I don't agree with him that no one's vegan anymore and that veganism's dead, because obviously so many people have remained vegan. And
vegans are growing, actually.
Yeah, it is growing. Of course it's not as trendy as it was in 2019, but if you look at the 2000s, 2010, 2012, whenever, it's grown so much since then, and I do think it's here to stay. It's not just a trend. The philosophy of veganism is not just a trend. While it might have been a food trend, which I do agree, trends come and go. Food trends always come and go. And it could come back at some point. But ultimately, we don't need it to be a trend. We need it to be a long-term, sustainable philosophy that people can get behind and believe in. And we strongly do believe in it.
Okay, so call to action. Maybe next time you go out with friends at a restaurant or go grocery shopping for yourself, try the plant-based option. You might end up really liking it, and you would have never known unless you have tried it out.
So thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Please let us know what you think in the comments. And just to recap, veganism is not dead. It is growing. It's not a fad anymore, but it's still growing. And we still need to speak out for the animals and not just worry about it not being cool anymore, you know? Like, that's never what it was meant to be about.
It was not, no.
So anyway, please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.